I usually post on my Facebook page if they see the English language program the name of my guest. This time a lady is asking about your new position at the presidency. What is exactly your role? We know that you're dealing with diplomatic issues, but it's not clear for the audience.
You know that the president is the one who is the chief, who is the boss of the diplomatic policy here in Tunisia. So for that he needs assistance. That assistance is done on a daily basis because he has so many issues to tackle, so many visits to organize, so many people to receive. So all that needs preparation, because when we discuss with foreign officials, we need to have a clear idea of what we want, where we are taking the country, what is our political program, what is our economic and social program, so that we can speak to the others with full knowledge of our basic needs. So we need to prepare everything. We need to have a thorough knowledge of the economic issues related to the countries or the officials that we receive. So it is a very interesting work. It is not that different from the work I've been doing in the ministry, because it is still the same thing, but it is with a larger scope, because we are dealing with roughly speaking, the whole world, and therefore we need to prepare everything. So now we are working very hard on the common visits of the president to probably some other foreign countries. We are not fixed yet, but we do prepare. Everything should be prepared minutely in advance. Otherwise, you cannot make any mission.
I guess it's very difficult for you to deal with diplomatic issues. You know that we've recently witnessed a wave of protest in Tunisia following the visit of President Marzouki to Qatar, and also following his announcement at the Cottage Palace about Qatar. You know, when I said that Mr. Abbess is my guest, I've received dozens of emails about this issue, and I want to ask you about the reaction of President Marzouki weeks after his announcements in Doha and his announcement here in Tunis.
Let me be very frank. I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding of the sayings of the president, what he really means. The question is very simple. As a head of state, he needs to be to pay attention to everything that happens, that engages the country in a way or another. We need to keep Tunisia at equal distance from all the countries. So that we have to be very careful not to attack any country, whatever that country may be, because Tunisia has some fundamentals in its policy, foreign policy, that we are a peaceful country, we have no enemies, and we should keep on being like that. So he is in his role when he tries to tell people, please be careful, do not wage attacks on any country whatsoever. It happens that it is Qatar at that moment. It could have been any other country. So I think that people are very sensitive when it comes to dealing with Qatar, but Qatar is not different from any other country for us. We certainly will defend our relationship to all the other countries exactly with the same energy and the same determination. So again, I think that this polemical situation is not necessarily provoked by the president's words, but probably by the recipients, the way they received that message. But again, Tunisia and Qatar and Tunisia and the Arab countries do enjoy very, very important relationships and friendly, brotherly relationships, and we need to keep that relationship intact.
Don't you think it could have been a problem of communication?
I cannot exclude that for a president or any human being who comes to speak to media on a daily basis, not to make some mistakes from time to time. But the question is not about making mistakes. It is about the intention. It is about the way, the content of the message rather than the form. The problem with people and with some people who want to attack the president is that most of the time they do not pay attention to the content, and they know that what the president really means. The only thing that they keep on sticking to formal elements that may probably be misinterpreted, and using that in order to question the legitimacy of the president. I think that we have to be very careful about that. We are building a democracy, and a democracy is about the respect of the institutions and the respect of the people. So we need to respect the people, whatever their position, but we need to respect those institutions. Attacking Marzouki today not on his performance, but on the way he delivers his messages, is probably interesting, because we have to be very careful how to address the people, how to speak to them, but at the same time we have to be fair, because the virulent attacks on the president might be, at the end of the day, interpreted as an attack on the institution itself. So we need to keep the presidency as one of the major institutions in the country that we have to respect whatever happens. I have never seen such kind of attacks on whatever president in whatever democracy in the world. So again, we accept, up to now, the president has never sued anyone before justice because of what he or she says or writes. Let's not push it too far.
But it's not the position of the Congress for the Republic.
Oh,
the party has been blamed for the new project.
The CPR is which project you're talking about? Is it about the law, the project about the Tahsin al-Thawra or whatever?
No, the second one.
Oh,
concerning journalists.
Oh, yes. Yes, there's a problem about that, and I think that we are going to reconsider the project as a whole, because if you go as back as the origin of the project, you will find out that it is part of the work, of the PhD work done by Muhammad Abu, which was a very, very good thesis, a very, very good work, and he took a part of it in order to help the Constituent Assembly to think about a new model of organizing, or a new way of organizing media in Tunisia. It certainly has some flaws, some weaknesses. These flaws or these weaknesses should be a matter of debate inside the Constituent Assembly. But given the tumult that it is causing, the trouble that it is causing, and it is also part of it is caused by misinterpretation of the text. This is why we are contemplating the idea of withdrawing this project from the Assembly. Probably it is not time yet to discuss these issues. We have been working hard in order to put in place the High Commission for media, and I think that the hard labour is going to yield its fruit in the coming days.
Muhammad Abu has left the Congress for the Republic. He's planning to form a new political party probably in the coming weeks. Does this mean that we have to forget about the plans of Muhammad Abu as former Secretary General of the Congress for the Republic?
Well, I personally have a lot of respect for Muhammad Abu. I even learned a lot from working with him or by his side. He has made a choice, but we respect him for that choice. We may probably someday be again in a kind of cooperation or coordination or alliance. Who knows? We cannot predict the future, but because we do believe in the same values. So whenever you have people believing in the same values, they may overcome conflicts, and they may even converge one day or another. If not, we wish him good luck for his project, and it is meant to enrich the political arena in Tunisia, and we welcome that.
It's kind of love story between Muhammad Abu and the Congress for the Republic. It's like the song by Taylor Swift. Short break and long back. Stay with us.
Good transition.
A few weeks ago, President Marzouki traveled to Paris for a private visit to present his new book. He's been criticized by opposition figures and the media for writing a book while in office. Do you believe it was a wise decision? How does President Marzouki explain or justify?
listen, we've been suffering for years
Mm-hmm.
of a president, I'm speaking about the former president,
Mm-hmm.
a president who used to be almost ignorant, almost Philistine, really unable to see Tunisia and the Tunisian people from a wider scope than the strictly, simply security issue.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we are lucky of having an intellectual, political figure who enjoys
Mm-hmm.
some abilities to write, to think, to read, and to plan for the future. And I think, at least myself, that some people who criticize him for writing books should probably do the same and write books and contribute to the general knowledge, to the general enhancement of public debate,
Mm-hmm.
and to bring us into that area of knowledge, the area of dialogue between people and opinions, in order to create a new dynamism in the country, rather than criticizing someone who contributed to the enrichment of public knowledge. This is the first element. The second is related to the way he organizes his time.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Marzouki is a hard worker. He's a Stakhanovist. Those who do not know him probably may not believe this, but he works a lot. He wakes up early in the morning and he works the day through without interruption. So this is the way he works. So once he has finished his work, and most of the time during the weekends, he writes. So it's as simple as that. And of course, when he writes, he manages to publish books.
Mm-hmm.
So why should we find in something that we have to be proud of any unexpected viciousness?
Mm-hmm.
There's absolutely no vicious idea behind writing books. So otherwise, we could probably slide back to the old ages, where those who used to write books were put on the bonfire because of writing books and delivering people some new ideas. We are in the 21st century, and we have once again we are lucky of having people who can write, who can contribute to the debate by their own way of thinking, and we have to be proud of that. Once again, we need to have a transparent political figures, transparent president. When he writes, he exposes his point of view, he delivers his ideas to the people. So let's talk about the ideas he's talking about or he's dealing with. Let's talk about his own mind, the way he believes democracy, how democracy should be, rather than talking once again about whether he has the right to publish or not, whether it is the right timing for doing it or not. So you see, once again, I have read not one single sentence dealing with the content of the book. The whole debate was about why he wrote it, why did he publish it in Paris, why is it written in French, and so on and so forth. I think that this is not the way we have to tackle this issue. We have probably to read the book and question the ideas in that book, and if we find anything that is not suitable or which is questionable, let's question it.
I think it's clear for me, but Iman Swedi is asking you on Facebook, do you have to get used to this new image of the president, the intellectual, rather than the dictator, or both images are near caricatures of what a president should be?
Yes, I think that we have made a revolution just to make that qualitative switch from one way of being to another way. So we have made that revolution, and if it is not by turning some habits upside down, so what is it, a revolution? So we are turning habits. If you look at the presidency itself as an institution, its doors are open. On a daily basis, we receive people. On a daily basis, we have conferences. So it became a place where knowledge is produced rather than a place of secrecy, a place of exclusion rather than inclusion. We are including people into that institution. They need to reappropriate the place. They need to make it their own. This is an institution of the people, by the people, for the people, and it has to be as such. And this is what democracy is about. When they ask me about my own definition of democracy, I just sum it up in 2 words. I would say that democracy is about distance and about access. We have to reduce distances between those who are in office and the people. So reducing the distance it has many meanings. In order to, when you reduce the distance, you make the control more effective. You have an eye on things, so you can control them. We need to reduce the distance between the people and the president so that the people can supervise the president's work. This is one basic element of democracy. The other is access. We need to give people access to everything. Access to work, access to facilities, access to services, access even to the presidency. This is the new democracy that we are building in Tunisia, and we keep on defending this project despite the attacks that we do suffer from time to time from those who have not made the revolution inside their own minds. Tunisia is a new place.
You have the same position as Zucchero and the beautiful Vanessa Carlton, who claimed that everybody's got to learn sometimes. Local and international observers claim that the role of the presidency is limited as we've moved from a regime in which the president had all powers to a new system in which the prime minister is the real decision maker.
Yes, and this is a big problem. It started when people decided that the president should have limited prerogatives. And it started, of course, in the Constituent Assembly, which fixed the prerogatives of the president and those of the prime minister. The problem is that how to make of that small amount of prerogatives something bigger. And this is what the president is trying to do. And this is what we are going to try at least to prevent for the common constitution, to find ourselves again in such kind of impossible relationship between the 2 executive heads or heads of the executive. This is why we think that the best way is to create a Tunisian system, a mixed system in which we have that principle of checks and balances between the 2 heads of the executive. We think that the experience that we've been through so far is not that positive. We have problem with the way to run things on the highest level. We have some weaknesses in the system that we need to amend as soon as possible. I think that we have suffered for decades from a president with a lot of powers who reigned as an absolute authority in the country, and we need to not to move again into a parliamentarian system where we can trust all the powers to the same hands once again. So we need to find a place in between, a compromise system where the 2 executives could cooperate and complement each other. It is not about dividing the powers into 2 equal sections. It is about a combination that each of the 2 heads could control each other. And this is what democracy is about. It is about sharing of power and control over that power.
How do you evaluate the two-year term of President Moussa Marzouki at the Carthage Palace?
It is not time yet to make that sheet balance, but we are going to do it. Frankly speaking, he has been doing a great job. It is not visible. Probably we have problem of communication, how to deliver the message. But the work he has done is tremendous, is huge for the future of the country. Only history can testify to that. We are patient. We think that Tunisian people are intelligent. They will end up by knowing what was the contribution, or what is the president's contribution to the stabilization of the country, his contribution to the process of democratization and the building up of the institutions. And he is doing a great job. You know that whatever the political party in power, we all have that inclination to overwhelm everything, to become too much powerful for partisan reasons. So if we do not have people watching over the system, people trying to pay attention to the nitty-gritty of the way to run the country, we will certainly lose this revolution into another system that we have rejected vigorously in the past. So I think that the president is playing a great role, more precisely on the diplomatic level. He is representing Tunisia in the best way possible, and you have just to check all the speeches he made around the world. Those he made in Europe brought people to tears. He has a lot of success because in all democracy they know what we can, or how we evaluate such kind of presidents. Of course, in Tunisia he is facing some criticism, and this is fair enough. We are for criticism. We are for such kind of sometimes exaggerated criticism, because it is part of what democracy should be. But nevertheless, we have to be fair from time to time.
Sidi, Fatma Badiafi is asking you on Facebook, where do you see the role of President Moussouf Marzouki in stabilizing the country at this important transitional stage?
Well, let me give one example. The fact that he organizes in the palace the national dialogue between the different parties is probably from outside is not that important, but when you get into the content of this dialogue and see the object of this dialogue, the issues they tackle, you then understand that his role is absolutely fundamental. He is creating that haven in the palace in which different political parties from different positions, sometimes paradoxical, contradictory positions, come, sit around the same table, discuss some issues, and sometimes get out of it with a consensus around some specific elements. I think that this is an important example to show the role of the president in order to create that national dialogue and national consensus, which is absolutely important in order to shorten this period of transition. So if we manage to solve some problems through that dialogue, we will certainly deliver elements to the Constituent Assembly to decide upon, which are already or almost done, which is certainly something that may help us in the future in order to make it possible for the elections to take place as soon as possible. So this is one element. The other element here is about his role in terms of security. He is the chief commander of the army. He is the one who is looking at our external securities with a very close eye. He has a close eye on that. So he is doing his job. It is not certainly something visible to the people, but it is essential, because if you secure our frontiers, that means that you protect the country, and when you protect it, you provide the environment for investment, for social peace, for work. It's as simple as that. So, if Tunisia is going through this transitional period with a relatively peaceful atmosphere, it is because of the contribution of the different people who are having responsibilities in the highest level, and the president is one of them. I'm not saying that he's the only one who is protecting the country. The other element is political. people know that he is a secular president, that he is defending what we call a civil state, meaning that there's a distance from religion, though we do recognize religion as part of our own culture and identity. But knowing that he is standing on that position, foreign countries do trust us more because it constitutes a democratic guarantee for them. This is why they do help us, they do support us when it comes to dealing with giving us loans or giving us direct contributions, budget support, economic support, and so on and so forth. So all these things put together make of the president someone who is playing a major role in this transitional period. Of course, it is not enough, and it could never be enough. But given the prerogatives he has, given the limited space in which he can move, I think that what he is doing is really big.
Some analysts claim that the presidency and the UGTT are in a competition for organizing this national dialogue, and the proof is that the UGTT and Al-Masar haven't denied it.
We can read it from that perspective, but it is not at all the case.
Really?
He started, or let me come back to the origin of the national dialogue. At the beginning, it was the UGTT which started it. The CPR and the Nahda refused to take part into that dialogue because at that moment, at that time, the legitimacy of the Constituent Assembly was questioned by some political parties. And we said, in these conditions, we cannot be part of such kind of dialogue which is biased and unfair, which may sound as a questioning of an elected body, that is the Constituent Assembly. Now that there's no debate, no question about, no discussion about the Constituent Assembly and its legitimacy, we resumed the dialogue with different political parties, and you have Nidat Tunis, Mubadra, and all the political parties, or at least those who accepted the invitation, sitting around the same table and discussing these major issues. So it implies that Mu'tamar and Nahda and all the political parties are now starting a new phase in their own relationship. Of course, this job is done just to make it easier for the UGTT to take the lead again. We are in favor of resuming the dialogue with the UGTT, bringing these elements upon which we agreed together to the table, so that the UGTT could contribute again to build up the general consensus we are looking for. So there's absolutely no contradiction, but it is just a question of, or a matter of complementary work done between the different bodies.
Now I'm going to ask you about the contradiction. Are you willing, as CPR members, to work with Nidat Tunis and Mubadara by Kamal Mourjeh? Because as members of the presidency, you've welcomed the leaders of Nidat Tunis and Mubadara on the table of dialogue. But what about the Congress of the Republic? It has different position.
The Congress is part of this dialogue. So the Congress is taking part in an open discussion with Nidat Tunis and Mubadara. We have absolutely no problem about that, once again. We had a problem at the beginning because of the question of the legitimacy, as I said, but now there's no problem at all. We are discussing...
What has changed?
Because they understood that in order to build up democracy, you should not question the institutions, because those institutions are elected bodies. The Constituent Assembly is an elected body. Therefore, if you do not question it, it means that you are now understanding how democracy should work. So because they have changed their attitude towards the Constituent Assembly, we have changed ours.
Nidat Tunis and Mubadara have changed their position. But what about the presidency? What have you realized?
The president has contributed to the first dialogue organized by the GTT. He was there. He
as president, not as CPR member.
Yes, as president. He took part in that dialogue, and this is why he decided to host this second round of dialogue in the palace. So now we have total harmony between the presidential position and the party's position. And I think that this is part of the maturity of the political process and the political figures. We are moving forward towards a more, let me say, less confrontational way of discussing between the different political parties. And this is one of the originalities of the Tunisian people, that whatever happens, at the end of the day, we come to discuss and we sit around the same table and we try to find a consensus. Because we sense today that we need to do that. We have absolutely no other choice. We need to shorten this period. We need to have sound, safe and transparent institutions. So these are basic elements everybody agrees upon. Therefore, there are, in our opinion, there are no obstacles to establish these channels of discussion with different parties. But when it comes to dealing with creating coalitions, we do not think that we are able or ready to make any coalition with Nida Tunis or Mubada. We have different perspectives.
That's probably as a result of the position of Ennahda.
No.
And the Shura Council of Ennahda.
We do have...
To be precise, because Ennahda has different position from the Shura Council.
Yes, but we in the CPR have our own legal institutions, we have our own internal democracy, and we decide for ourselves. We do not refer to Ennahda to have our own position, but we decided that we cannot be in a political coalition with these parties because we do have different programs, different histories, different projects for the future. So, but we do respect them as legal political parties on the political arena in Tunisia. So we are moving forward in the positive direction. Yes.
Will President Marzouki run for office in the next presidential elections?
I have no idea so far, because it is really too early to speak about that. Because Tunisia needs people people in office to work 100% for the benefit of the people, for the benefit of the country. If we start now thinking about presidency and the campaign, it is going to be done to the detriment of the country. And I think that Marzouki has a high opinion of his own country and his own people and of the job he's doing, to think now about declaring his own candidacy to the presidency, or not to declare it.
I've expected this answer, but it's very important to know the plans of President Marzouki, who was blamed for starting an early presidential campaign. This is what we have heard.
Again, this is a matter of interpretation. When he speaks about the situation in Tunisia, it is systematically considered as part of his own campaign. But he has to speak his mind. He has to he has a point of view and he has to defend it. So whenever he defends a point of view, it is immediately interpreted as being starting a campaign. So it is. Let's be serious. It is his a man who is fully aware of his responsibility as a president, and he is trying to do it the best way possible.
I've received 18 emails about the same topic. In a recent interview, he declared that former Prime Minister Beji Qaid Sibsi is too old to run for office. Is this a personal statement, or probably the official position of President Marzouki and maybe the Congress of the Republic?
Once again, as I said earlier, I do believe in institutions and in the rule of law. Whoever meets the requirements, the legal requirements, to become a candidate has the right to be. So we do not question this right. So it is an absolute right. But as far as I know, the final draft, or the actual draft of the Constitution, makes it clear that the age limit is 65, 75. Sorry. So I think that it is in the actual current state of the Constitution, it is not possible. But this constitution is not definite. It is not the final one. If the members of the Constituent Assembly changes it, so much the better. We have absolutely no problem about that. But we in the CPR think that we need to put an age limit, because we have suffered a lot from life presidency, as we had it with Bourguiba. We suffered a lot with Ben Ali, who kept on pushing the limit, the age limit, each time he wanted to be a president again. So I think that we have to put an end to that. We have to think about the future. We have to think about young people who are the future of the country and who could contribute to the building up of this country and give it a fresher start from another perspective. This does not mean that we have to get rid of our senior experienced people. They can contribute to the national debate. We may have a number of other different bodies in which they can participate and fully participate in the political life. So SIPSI or whatever, or whoever, could certainly keep on contributing to the national debate from whatever position he or she might be.
Mr. Hédi Ben Abbess, do you believe we need a presidential or a parliamentarian system? Many constitutional experts say that we need a mixed regime with powerful institutions, a presidency or a parliament.
We in the CPR, at least, we believe in a mixed system in which we have a sharing of power between the presidential regime or the presidential system and the parliamentarian one. We think that we cannot suffer the problems the Italians are suffering now, despite the fact that they have old democratic institutions. So let alone a nascent democracy as ours, how could it face up any institutional problem if we indulge ourselves into a parliamentarian system? The experience we've been through so far made it clear that a parliamentarian system is not fair, and it does not prevent necessarily the predominance or the hegemony of a political party. We need to get out of that. We need to get out of a presidential system with full powers, and we need to get out of a parliamentarian one, and we need to find something, a compromise, something that brings people together rather than dividing people. So to bring them together, we need to have a system by which more than one party can rule the country at the same time. For that, we need to have that checks and balances system in place. A president controlling the prime minister, and the prime minister controlling the president, and parliament controlling everybody. Isn't it a wonderful system?
Yeah, it's a wonderful system. We will see, Silhedi. We'll see in a few years. Silhedi Ben Abbess, one last question. Hundreds of thousands of expats are listening to you, and they are worried about the security situation following the attack on two officers in Kasserine. Do you think we will extend the emergency status or after May, because it's technically impossible, and this is the role of the President of the Republic?
Yes, our main preoccupation is security, because without security you have no development, you have no social peace, you have no economic development whatsoever. So security is our top priority. For that, we need to think twice before removing the state of emergency. So we are thinking about that. I think that time is not ripe yet to put an end to the emergency, but I think that it is one of the major prerogatives of the President, and he's going to have a meeting to discuss that issue, and we will certainly have his final decision very, very soon.
Silhedi Ben Abbess, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
It's a very difficult job. Coming next, news update in French. the German language program with Mustafa Lapiev. Faisal Bouzriba is here, and all our friends are here. Great atmosphere on Tunis International Radio. I thank my friend and colleague Noel Saidi for her valuable technical assistance. I'll be here on Sunday with special guests. Stay tuned to RTCI, and goodbye from Tunis. Bye.